Hi there, this is Art and Such with my Rainbow Loom tutorial for Thomas the Tank Engine. This is an advanced level project and it's a lengthy project, but I will try and make it as painless for you as possible. We are making two changes here. One is that we're going to add a white rim on the front, and we'll be adding this little white spout. And the other thing is that we're going to be making the sides just a little bit shorter. We'll raise each of these up by 2. So if the proportions look a little funny now, don't worry, we're going to take care of that. For this project, you are going to need a double loom for several parts, and this will have 6 rows across, and you're going to need 10 or 11 pegs down on each of those, and they are all set evenly. We're going to do a couple of parts on a standard rainbow loom with the middle row raised above the other 2. And we're going to be doing a lot on our hook. You will want to have a number of C-clips handy. They won't all stay on at the end, but we're going to need to hold pieces together as we connect them. I will make one of each part with you, and sorry guys, I'm gonna have to get you to pause and make some of the others. Otherwise this video is gonna take years and years to complete. For colors, we've got yellow, white, gray, blue for the body and the wheels. I'm gonna use a navy this time, and I used the turquoise the first time. You'll need about 3 packages worth, but I'll try and give you ways to save bands where I can. This calls for some black, a little bit of yellow, I think I said that, and some red. I'm also using a couple of black pony beads at the front. So I think that's all of that. I'm going to try and get this into 2 videos, 2 parts, and in the first part I'll go over how to make all the different components. In the second part, I'll show you how to attach them together. Alright, so we're ready to start. We're going to begin really easy. We're going to get all of our small pieces. So first of all, let's make our white-gray spout, which we will be adding here. For this, you need white and gray bands. And what you're going to do is take your hook, take a single gray band and wrap it 1, 2, 3, 4 times onto your hook. Pull it onto 2 white bands. I'll also suggest right here you might want to have some extra holding hooks on hand, just because we are going to have a number of pieces. You can C-clip them to secure them, but a hook will work just as well. Now take 2 more white bands, put them around a couple of your fingers, and as if you were doing a ponytail, you're gonna pinch the top where the gray is, bring this over, hold, twist, bring it over, hold, twist, bring it over. Oops, wants to slip around here. And you can do it as tightly or as loosely as you want. I'm going to do it one more time here. I think I've got enough stretch for that. And we're going to try and bring the white forward just a little bit so it's kind of close to the top, kind of close to where the gray is. And there is our first piece. You can put it on the side, on a C-clip, or on a holding hook. I'm going to put mine onto a holding hook, I think. Next, we're going to do our wheel bars. That's just what I'm calling them here. It's the gray pieces that go across the wheels on the bottom. And for this, we're using gray again. We're going to be doubling over bands. Take a single and wrap it 1, 2, 3 times. And this is going to go onto 15 single doubled over grays. So twist it, pull it back onto itself nice and tight. Slide the band off of your hook and onto there, and we're going to do this 14 more times. 2, 3, 4, 5. It's okay if it gets a little bit twisty. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, we need 15 altogether, so this is 14 and 15. It will be curved up. It should be curved up because this is really tight. This can go onto a holding hook or a C-clip, and you need to make another one of these. So pause please and make one more to go on your opposite side. You can put them onto another C-clip, onto C-clips or onto a same holding hook or a different one. Let's get our nose ready. Our nose is pretty straightforward. We have 2 bands, gray or face colored, wrapped 1, 2, 3 times. We pull it onto a doubled over single and pull that onto 2 gray bands. Okay, I'm going to put that on the side as well. We only need 1 nose. Right, for the spout in the middle here, and you can feel free to change the dimensions as you like, but what I've done, and I'll show you my method here, was to go onto the loom, and on the middle row, or any of the rows really, we're going to put 2 bands. I'm going to make it a little thicker at the bottom this time, I think. I'll do 4 bands, and then 2 sets of 7 bands. So that's 3, 5, 6, and 7. This is what gives it its thickness. And another set of 7. 6. One more time, that was 4 bands, 7 bands, 7 bands. We're gonna cap it off, single wrapped once, 2, 3 or 4 times. See how tight you can comfortably get it. And we're gonna loop it up. You can loop a couple of these at a time if it's easier for you. I'm gonna try and get most of them, but I think we'll go down. Don't let that cap band slip off. And loop up again. Grab all of your bands, bring them forward, and last time, bring them forward. Take this off of your loom. Okay, I've got a loose band here. I'm going to try and fix that. It means I missed one. Okay. And if you'd like, if you don't mind it being a tiny bit taller, you can place this onto another 2 bands, and that'll make it a little easier to incorporate later. Alright, and this is the piece, as I said, that's going to sit right in the middle here on top. For our next piece, we're going to make one of these yellow headlights, and I'll get you to pause after it to make the other. For this we need a single yellow doubled over and brought from the top center to the top right. Doubled over yellow from the top center to the top left. A doubled over yellow coming down on either side once. We're going to make a little stop sign kind of thing here. want to say octagon, but it's not right, is it? Doubled over second side to third center. This is a hexagon, I guess. Pentagon, hexagon. Now we switch to gray, so we want the gray to show up in the middle. So a single doubled over, come down from the top center to the second center, repeat just below, another doubled over, and cap it with a yellow. I've capped mine 3 times. Now we're going to go under the cap band, get the gray. It will be a little bit tight, and bring that up once. Get your next one and bring it up to the top. Go to the bottom again, and we're going to go under the cap once more and bring up the yellows to the right. And loop up once on the side, on the right, and once to the middle. My loom, can you hear that little crackle? It's trying to snap apart here to get some new ones, I think. Go back in at the bottom and bring your band to the left. Get inside and bring your band up and bring your band to the middle. Take a single yellow or 2 if you want to have it extra secure. Slide your hook through the bands on the top center peg with the open part pointed away. Catch your single band and slide it through. The other end goes on, and we bring one side over the other to create a slip knot. Carefully take this off of your loom and pause and make the other one, please. Okay. Our next piece, we've got our wheelbarrows, our front addition, our nose, our mid spout, and we'll do our front spout. This is with black. We're going to use the loom again. Take a single black and double it over. Come from the top center to the top right, and take another, double it over, top center to the top left. We're going to come back inwards from either side, so top side to the second in the middle, and the top left to the second in the middle. Just made a little diamond here. We're going to take one more and come down from the top center to the second center. From here we need 4 sets of doubled over double bands. So take 2 bands together, twist, double. This is going to be very tight, but it will give it that nice thickness that we want. And that goes from the second down to the third down. You repeat this underneath, and we'll do it 2 more times. Cap it off, take a single, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to get our hook and we're going to loop straight up until that second peg. There will be a lot of tension here, so just be really careful as you go. Now we need to come under these top ones and find the 2 or the doubled band right above and bring that up once. Okay, so we brought this band back to where it came from. Go under and get the next top 2, which are coming to the left. You can see there's a lot of tension. I'm having to hold my loom really snug here. That goes to the left, and the last one goes over to the right side. And then we're going to loop inwards from either side. And take 1 or 2 bands. I'm going to use 2 to secure. Bring your hook through, slide your bands up, and do a slip knot. And let's carefully take this off with a loom. Alright, you have a couple of options here. You can put this on a C-clip, but the C-clip will stand out at the top. You can weave this in at the back and hide it, or you can put your hands through and pop it on top, twist it, pop it around, and this will actually further emphasize the bulbousness of the top. And this is the bottom piece we'll attach later on. So this can go on the side. And we're gonna start on the wheels. This is on our double loom. We're working with a lot of tension, and you're gonna need a lot of bands because you're gonna be making 6 of these, 1 with me and 5 on your own. And if it makes you feel any better, I'll be doing the 5 too, just not on camera. We take a single band, double it over, and bring it across the 3rd and the 4th pegs in the middle here. Now, if you find the tension is too much to work with, or you just want to save some bands, you can do this with doubled over bands, but this is what you're gonna get. And it looks a little bit sloppy, and it's a little bit harder to control. Okay, just to compare. So I am going to be doubling my bands over. I'm using singles for each of these, and the next one is going to come from that 3rd from the side down to the 2nd from the side on the next row, and we'll come down one more time until the outer edge. Everything here is going to be symmetrical. We're going to mirror it on the far side. So come down once diagonally, come down twice diagonally. And then we're going down once on either side. And we'll come down on the center 2 rows, 3-4 times each. Pull this up for you in just a second. Come down on the 2nd and 5th row 3 times each. These are all doubled over singles in this section. Come down once more on the 3rd and the 4th sections. So now we have 1 coming down, 3, 5, 5, 3, 1. And we're going to take a single, bring it from the side down diagonally. As I said, it's symmetrical across both axes, both planes, so it's going to look the same up and down and side to side, more or less here. Come down from the other side. And a doubled over band across the middle 2 at the bottom. You can use just 2 bands, or you can, well, that's probably that or this. We need some holding bands. We're just going to use singles, and we're going to stretch them across the bottom 4, like the next row up. Stretch all the way across the middle 2 and across the 4 on the second row. Now we're ready to loop, and I'm going to apologize now. My hand is going to be in the way because I need really good strength to hold this loom together. But I'll try and pause in between and get you good views. So first thing to do is get under this bottom band, get your top bands and bring them up diagonally to where they came from. And you can do this for the other side as well. So bring the top ones up to the left. Go inside now on, this is your 5th row down. Go underneath that second peg in and find the top 2 diagonal bands, bring them back to the side. Go to the opposite side and repeat that here. Push back your holding band as you go. And I'm gonna continue looping up on either side one time. And then we'll start looping up straight here. So our first band comes up and over, in the middle, up and over, and yes, you are going to have a loose piece here, but that's okay. That's going to be hidden underneath, and it's actually going to help us lumen it a little bit. And I'm going to come up on each of the rows. And things are already starting to get tight on my loom, so what I'm going to do as I go is I'm going to release lower sections once the upper ones are secured. So next set coming up, bringing the bands upwards. And I'm going to ease off the side piece here. Again, just to release a little bit of tension. You don't have to do this part, you can ease it all off when it's done if that's easier for you. Or you can follow me. Come up again on each of the rows, looping forwards. And loop up diagonally from the sides. So that third peg down, you're going to come underneath, get the diagonal piece and bring it back to the second and second inwards. Repeat on the other side. And I'm going to take off a couple more pieces here. As I said, just keep the tension under control. And loop up in the middle too. And loop up diagonally from either side. You're coming from the second peg to the third peg on the top row. I'll take off another piece or two, so it's still really, really tight here. And loop up on the right side. And now you have a couple of options for for taking this off. You can use 1 or 2 bands and slide them through the bands on the top peg on one side. Here, we'll do this next step first actually. We have to find our doubled over band that we used to start this and bring it through and over to the next peg. So we've just brought it from underneath and over. So at this point you can bring this onto, like, put your hook through, put on a band or 2 and take it off. The other thing that you can do is you can take this bottommost piece and grab it with your hook through the bands, and that will work the same way. I'm going to take a single, you can use 1 or 2 here, and I'm going to get my hook through, put that single through. This is really tricky. And secure it with a slip knot. And then this will come off of the loom. And you are going to need a total of 6 of these wheels. If you're really struggling, I'll tell you again, you can switch to double bands instead of doubled over bands for your wheels. Okay, so it's nice, it looks nice and tight. You will have this loop here, don't worry about that. It's not going to be showing up. And this can go onto a hook or it can go onto a C-clip. And pause your video, please. You're going to need 5 more of those. So now we're ready to start on Thomas's face, and I'll show you what it looks like again. It's about 1 inch wide. I'll give you 2 alternatives for the eyes. So alternative option 1 is the way you see it here, and I'll show you how to do that. And option 2 is to use googly-eyed button beads with the little hole in the back. If you have those, or if you have another way of attaching them, that's another option. So this is what I'm going to do this time around, but first I'll show you how to make the eyes like this. If you're using bands, you'll take a single black and wrap it 3 times around your hook. You can do it 4 times if you want it to be a little tighter. Take a single white and wrap it once and twice on the far side and twice on this side. I think this method's from DIY Mummy. It's off the top of my head. We repeat this next to it, single black wrapped 3 to 4 times, and place a white wrapped twice on the inside, twice on the far side on the outside. And this is going to go on to 2 gray or face colored bands, and you want to try and keep them in order as much as you can. And when we attach this, this is what you're going to have. You can see the pieces are already moving about. They can be adjusted a little afterwards. They can be adjusted a little now, and you just do your best with it. So this can go on a holding hook or on the bottom of your loom, or you can put a C-clip on it or just let it sit. That is the band method. If you are using beads, and this is regardless of the kind of beads you're using, if they're too large to fit on the hook, you will want to do it this way, which is a thin wire or a piece of dental floss. Put it through the beads, both of them. Easier said than done, of course. There. Put it onto a single gray band, or 2 if you can get it, if it's the right size and can be got through, and bring it back over. Okay, so it's through the beads, it's through the band, it goes over and through the beads from the opposite direction. Just have to bear with me a second and we'll get this. Sometimes it takes a couple of tries or a couple minutes. If you've already got yours, feel free to jump ahead and I'll catch up in just a minute. There's one. And 2. These beads have very small and awkwardly shaped holes, so it'll be a little extra challenging for me. There. Okay, and slide pull until it's right on the band. And I'm just gonna keep this on the side for the moment. And we can proceed on to our loom. We're using double bands this time, not doubled over, but 2 bands at a time. And we're gonna come down. Let's find our picture here. We're gonna come across the middle too. This is gonna be very similar to the shape of our wheel. Actually pretty well the same. I come down with double bands diagonally once, diagonally twice until you've reached the third peg down on the far side, and repeat this towards the right. Come down once on either side from the third peg to the fourth peg. And we're going to come inwards down. You can start with the middle row or you can meet it along the bottom, either is fine. Come down a second time. And I think we're going to just use double bands across the bottom here, like so. Let's fill up the middle. We're just going to take double bands and come down on each of the rows until it reaches the peg that has that's coming from the outside. So basically just fill in the whole, all the center pieces here. We've done the outline, we're filling it in. Start at the top, work your way down. Make sure you get it on all of the pegs. I think we're actually gonna make a little change here and we're gonna close this up after. So you can take those bottom two centers off and they're gonna go on top. That way they can work as holding bands. Okay, so these will go last on the bottom too. Now we are going to need some holding bands and we want them to be sort of tight, so we're going to double over the bottom one, over the bottom four if you can get them to reach, and across the top one. And the rest are just going to be double bands, or sorry, single bands across. So that is set. We can put our eyes across from the third peg on the side to the third peg on the other side and try and get them a little bit separate from each other. I'm going to stretch mine out a little bit and place, show you what I'm doing here just as soon as we can get this in place here. Now I'm going to put my eyes, the band, separate it and bring it over the two in the middle. This is going to have them sitting far apart though. So if you don't want that, then you can just bring them underneath and get them to sit under these pegs here. And I'm a little worried now that these are going to recede back, but I'll hope for the best. Our nose is going to go across from the fourth peg on the side to the fourth peg. So find your nose. It was a gray piece. And you're going to take the two bands that it's on. You can even take one of those off if you want, but at least one. And this is going to stretch across from the third to the third. Sorry, fourth to the fourth. And it's going to sit just in the middle here. Okay, so we are ready to loop this up. Let's get under the holding bands on the bottom center. Find your top two and bring them upwards, and you can loop straight to the top in that row. So 2 bands each time. And stay under your holding bands, under your grays there on the side. Just loop right over the eye. And once more to the top. You can repeat that on the next one to the side. Looping, just loop straight up that column, that row. Want to stay on the far side of the nose as much as possible, and you want to try and catch your bands around the eye. So I'm going to push back this holding band. I'm actually going to just loop it under there for now so it's out of the way completely. Get my bottom two and bring them up and over the eye. Bring this back and loop up one more time. Come back to the bottom and we're looping diagonally up to the side. We can loop up twice, or sorry, once up. And once more to the side. And then we'll loop up in that fifth column twice. Loop up on the far right once and bring the next two bands inwards and up again. One more time to the top. And loop up on the left side. Take your bottom two from under the base, bring it up, get your next two and loop them upwards. It's getting hard to see, we've got so many grays. See if we can't loosen these up a little to see it better. Not those ones. Okay, the two going up and the two that go diagonally to the side have to come through as well. Okay, up and diagonally, come up twice on the second row from the side, second column in, and come up once on the side, and then we're looping inwards, upwards, diagonally until we've reached the top again. Keep inside your holding bands wherever you go. And you're going to take the bottom two and bring them up and over to the side and get two bands, one or two bands. And get your hook through the bands on your top side peg that you've looped your bottom one onto. And get your band and we're going to pull it through again. And I know it's a terrible angle to work with, but you don't have to do this too many times, at least for the face. Okay, bring the other side on, loop over, connect, and take this off of your loom. We're going to do a bit of hook work, our first little bit of stitching. After we get this off and make whatever adjustments that we might need to make. You can see I'm taking this off from the top to the bottom, and I'm trying to do it gently. Okay, so my eyes have appeared at the back. I kind of like the band method better, but either is fine. Pop your nose through to where you can see it, whichever side you're working with. And we are going to make our black frame for the face. So get your black bands handy. You're going to take your hook, and now I'm looking at the back side. I'm going to take my hook, put it through two of the gray bands. And you've seen this kind of stitching before in a couple of channels probably. Okay, our hook is through the side. I'm holding on to this band. If that's difficult for you, you can always put it on a C-clip, just for a minute here. And we're going to take two black bands, put them onto the hook, and slide them under the grays where we put our hook through. So slide them back, catch this gray on your hook, Actually, maybe we'll hide this a little bit first. I'm just going to loop it under a couple of bands so that it's a little tighter. And now this can go on between the blacks. And this is what we'll do. Okay. So we have blacks on one side, you have the gray and the blacks on the other. And now you're going to find another spot close by and go through 2 or 3 gray bands. Put the others back on your hook. Okay. So we put 2 black bands through. We've collected 2 grays in between and another gray, and we've placed the blacks back. You'll get the hang of this after you see it a couple times, I hope. Take 2 blacks and bring them through all of those bands carefully. And you're gonna rotate your head a little bit and look for another 2 grays along the top. And put the other side of the blacks back on. So we make a little sandwich here. And we're gonna keep going around, but before we go any further, we do wanna make sure that we get our little top funnel piece on. So that's gonna go right up here actually. We want it to be in line with the top of the head. So I'm gonna hold the black on my finger on the hook for the moment. And again, you can use a holding hook if it's easier. And with my hook, I'm gonna come through the bottom, not the lumpy side, the bottom of the funnel piece, and go back through the black and get to 2 more black bands and pull it through. And now we'll go back to collecting 2 grays and a black. This is the back side, this is the front side. Bring 2 black bands through. Get your next 2 grays, so keep going, keep turning it to the side. We want to get them sort of in the middle section, not right at the front and not right at the back. Okay, put your black bands through and get another 2 black. I'm gonna start moving a little bit faster here. Okay, 2 grays, place them on the hook. And just as I say I'm moving faster, I get a little stuck here. Get your next 2 black, and we keep going around until we've circuited the whole thing. This does get faster the more that you do it. You want to sort of get them like a set from each stitch as you go. You don't want them too far apart or too close together. So then your tension's going to be a little funny. Okay, go through a couple of grays. Put your black on the opposite side and thread 2 blacks through that section. Through everything that's on your hook. You're just going to transfer this off and over. And 2 blacks. Okay, I'm just gonna push this loose section back actually, and we're gonna just grab 2 that are here on the bottom. And I've lost one of my black bands. I have to go back and reclaim that. And that will happen sometimes too, where your bands will slip off. It's just part of the nature of this technique, unfortunately. But as I said, it does get better the more you do it. So this loose piece here, I'm going to slip it to the back, and I'm going to grab 2 pieces along the bottom. Just 2. Put my hook through again, through the black again, and latch this onto 2 more black bands. Make sure you're getting everything through each time. Take the next two. Bring another 2 black bands through. I lost one again. You can always bring a couple of bands over at one time if that helps you, of course. We're more than halfway done here. At least for the head. I'm going to warn you now, we will be using this technique a lot more when it comes to bringing our parts together. But if you've made it this far, you're doing good, and it doesn't really get any harder than this. Just a little different. Take 2 grays, bring your black onto the other side again, and bring 2 blacks through again. And keep coming up the side a couple more times. Almost there. And bring it back through a couple from that first set. And our last black bands are going to be slip knotted over each other. So bring one end over the other, and this can sit on top of the spout. And you can twist it on a couple of times, and this will hold that a little more firmly in place. Alternately, you can just put it on a C-clip for now. Okay, shape it to your liking as best you can. And we're going to put this on the side and start on some of our main body parts. It's time for us to start working on our panels. We have 2 on either side, and I'll make one of each with you. I'll get you to pause for the others. We have 1 piece for the back, 1 at the top, 1 on the inside, and a long piece here, which will have our spout on it. These all use the exact same method, and we are going to make them on our double loom. And originally I used 11 sets here, but as I said, I want to shorten this a bit, so we're going to come down 9 times on the loom. And to start, we need to find our 3rd and our 4th pegs from the side, from the left, and you're going to place 2 blue bands across those middle pegs. From there, take 2 more bands and bring them from that 3rd in the middle to the 2nd from the left, and come 1 more time to the left side. Okay, so we've started on the right, and we've moved this way, and we have 3 sets of double bands. Now on each of these rows that have the pegs on the top, we're going to come down with double bands 9 times, as I said. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, repeat this across the other columns. It's kind of funny. This is one of those hobbies where it's good to have fingernails that help you get the knots undone and help you get between the bands, but sometimes, like you can see, I'm kind of clicking at the pegs as I go. They get in the way a little bit. And just keep filling this up. Now all at the end of the same place. Two more rows to go. And now we're going to repeat what we did at the top. So take 2 bands and bring them over the center 2 pegs where we ended off our band placing. Take another 2, come once to the left, and come to the left one more time. Cap off your bottom left corner with a single. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to use single holding bands stretched across right above that. So on each of our sets of pegs going across, except for the top one doesn't need anything. So just take your band and bring it from one end to the other. We go back to the bottom now, and you're going to pry away the side ones, pull back the piece that's coming from the right, and get your hook under the capping band and take the piece from the right and bring it up and over and back to the side. Come in under that second one from the left. Find your next 2, bring them up and over to the side again. Trying to keep my other bands on. And on that third one, go under, get the top 2, bring them to the right. And now we're just going to loop straight to the top on each of these rows. So go under your caps, get the bottom 2, the remaining 2, bring them up. You can do 1 row at a time or go across them all one at a time. So as long as we're moving upwards, I can feel my loom is getting a little loose here, so I'm gonna do a row or 2 at a time and then release some tension as I go. You have to stay inside the cap bands all the way too, don't forget that. Almost there. And last set, go right to the top. Now, starting at the left, we have to find the bands that we placed across. And you're going to go under the first one on the left, find the two that are there, and bring them up and over to the right. Then we need to slip in and get the bottom two. Make sure you're getting the right ones, bring them over to the right. And the next bottom two, bring them to the right, and then you're going to take a single band, and we need to get it through the bands on that far right peg. I've just turned my loom around, that's why it's on the left now. Put the other end on, bring one side over the other, and you can take this off of your loom. And then just as I'm doing this, you can start to pause your video and make a second panel for your opposite side. We'll continue on to the next part in just a minute. And this can just go on a C-clip in the meantime. All right, there we go. All right, let's make our black top. And it's gonna be 6 by 6 so that it overhangs. So we're gonna go all the way across the loom, starting at the right with black. Double bands again, take 2, go from the furthest peg on the right to the second furthest in, like the second one in. And we're just gonna move towards the left a pair at a time. Now on each of our rows, each of our columns, we're coming down with 6 pairs, 6 sets, double black. Decided to put in a couple of the faster, easier parts here before I throw the big overwhelming side piece at you. No point in getting you frustrated with this project. It's not what I'm trying to do. So let's take a break from the big pieces and we'll work on a couple more small ones, and then we'll get back to the hard work. As I said, for all of our panels, our side, top, back pieces, we are using the same technique, the same methods. It's just the dimensions that are going to change, and we will have to do a little bit of, I guess you could say, expanding on the larger side piece. And a few more sets on the far side here. We're going to use double bands again to come across the bottom row here from your 7th peg down. Take 2, bring them across once. Repeat it to the left, and we go back across the loom towards the left. Take a single and cap off the far right bands. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to use single black bands stretched across each row of 6 as our holding bands. I think this is all the rest of the block that we're going to use on this project. You don't need one on the top row here. Same thing as we did with our tall side piece. You go under the cap band on the side, find the top 2, bring them up over to the right, and the next top 2 over to the right. Continue going across the loom, and then we're going to loop up each of the rows. Well, all of the rows, I should say. So just push back your holding bands as you go and get your 2 bands, bring them forward right to the top. And now we're on to the 3rd row. And the 4th row. The 5th one, again, just get inside, get your bottom 2 and loop them up forward. Get to the top of this one. And last time, go straight to the top. Now, starting at the left, we're going to go in at the top, find the 2 bands that are there, and bring them up and over to the right, back to the peg that they came from. Go inside, go past everything but your bottom 2, loop to the right. And we continue to do this all the way across. Make sure you're getting 2 bands each time. It gives it a nice thickness at the top, and it having the double there, and it also makes it easier to find the bands when we're weaving this all together later when we're stitching up. So it'll be nice and thick, and we'll have lots of bands to choose from. Alright, I'm going to flip this around, take a black band, get the hook through all the bands on the top peg, and we slide this one back through and over. Remove this from the loom. Trying to do this without breaking anything. Almost. Okay, so this is a square that will go on top. We're going to stick it onto a C-clip or a holding hook, or you can really just let it set. It should be secure. We'll come back and do another sort of small part, and this will be the piece you see here that has the yellow on it. This is a 4x4 piece. I'll just double check that for you. Yeah. Oh, 4x3. So we're going to count to the 4th peg from the left. Place 2 bands. Another 2 from the 3rd from the left to the 2nd from the left. And come once more to the far left. And we're going down 3 times on each of these. So it's 4 pegs across and 3 sets of double bands going down. This is our blue body color. Take sets of double bands, and we're going to come across from the right to the left along the bottom peg of the pegs that we've used. Same thing we did with our black piece just before. Cap off the left peg. This is your 4th peg down. And single bands stretched across as holding bands. You just need 2 this time. Okay, let's loop up. We're going to loop to the side first again, getting under your holding band or your securing band. I'm getting my terms mixed up here. Keep moving towards the right. Find the next 2, bring them up over. The next 2, bring them up and over. And we can loop up all of these rows straight forward, pushing back the holding bands as we go. This one should be a lot faster. Once you're at the top on all of those columns, we're going to come inwards again, left to right. Bottom 2, bring it over towards the right. Push back everything, get your next bottom 2, bring them over. And one last time, same thing. This one, and the last one doesn't want to go. There it is. Take a band, we're going to slide it through and secure this piece, this section as well. One end over the other, create a slip knot and take this off of your loom. Now I believe we only have 3 more pieces to do. 2 of them are very similar to each other, and we're going to do the biggest piece next, which is the one for the side. You can straighten this one out, put it on the side again, throw it on a C-clip, attach it to another piece, whatever, it's all good. Okay, make sure your loom is really nice and sturdy. We're going to be laying on the bands, and you're going to need a lot of blue here. We take 2 blue bands and just place them over the far top right peg. We're going to be attaching this as an extension later. Take 2 bands, come from the far right to the 2nd, and keep coming across towards the left with double bands. This is the section where we're going to have to move our loom around a little bit. It's the one and only part that calls for this though. You can come down on the left 6, well, let me just check our sides here, 5 times. Double bands all the way, and repeat it for the next 5 rows. Except just before we do that, let's put another 2 bands on the right, far right, parallel or just opposite to the peg that we've placed our last one on. This is your 6th peg down. And now you can fill up the rest of your rows across with double bands coming down 6 times on each. So they're all going to end in line with that first one that we did. Come across the bottom row, your 6th row down. We're going back towards right to left, double bands, as we've done with our last couple of pieces. So take 2, place them from the 2nd to the 3rd, 3rd to the 4th as you're coming across. And cap it off on the far left, 6th peg down, a single, 1, 2, 3. This is what we've got so far. Now we're going to take single bands and stretch them across each of the intermediary rows, each of the rows in between. This band looks like it's going to break, we'll put that aside. Now, before you get ahead of me here, I'm going to tell you right now, we aren't going to loop the last row up yet. But we can start, as we did the other ones, by going under our cap band and moving our double bands across from the left to the right on the bottom section. Now let's loop up the first 5 rows, this section, and leave the last one for the time being. I'm going to go straight up to the top again. The reason we're doing this is because we are going to be moving our far row into the place of the first row once we've looped up and removed some of this. And that way we can extend it to double its length, and that will give us our long piece to go with our tall piece. And this way all of our, you can see all of the stitches go in the same direction. Makes it a little more flowing. And let's go from the left to the right all the way, getting those horizontal bands and bringing them bottom 2 to the right, bottom 2 to the right, all the way along. Now the tricky part. We're going to take all of the bands off of the first 5 rows, this 5x5 square, but we're going to hold on to, we're not going to let go of the bands on the far right side. So very carefully ease off each set up until the far right. Hold on to those far right ones as you're releasing the ones on the closest row. This is where it gets a little tricky. You have to keep pushing those down. So I've already made this mistake once and I had to redo a whole section and it was rather a pain. Okay. You're going to take off the row on your far left. And you're going to take off the row on the far right, which has all of your bands on it now. And they are going to switch places. And then we are essentially going to repeat what we just did. So start at the far right, and we're coming across double bands, right to left. You can stop just before the last peg, 2 pegs on the left, because we are going to take the bands that we laid on first and bring those over and across. It's a lot easier than trying to fit it underneath after the fact. Come down 5 times on the far right, and we're going to do 5 times 5 sets of 2 on each of the rows in between. And really, if you're this far, you've done the hardest parts of the looming already. So yay, let's get it. I'm almost ready for my next package of blue bands. But this is actually just a little bit more conservative than my original model because, as I said, we are cutting each of the side pieces by 2 rows each. Wanted to make it more proportionate to the head, and it's kind of funny. You never know what's going to happen with these bands because as I was first making this, I had measured the side panels to be what's the word? Find the word in a second. To be, I don't know, like in ratio, I guess in ratio to the size of the head. But when I started stitching, I ended up with this extra thickness here that I didn't anticipate. So that's why we've shaved a little bit off of our piece. And it's also going to have a little effect on where we put on our number 1. And last set here, last row. Okay, come from the far right to the far left with double bands on the bottom. And again, we're going to be pulling in those 2 bands that we added our first time around. So we're going to come across 4 times. And then catch those 2 and bring them over put on holding bands, and they go straight across the 6 pegs. Just completely ignore the piece we added on. We do our bands as usual. And for sets, for holding bands, we're going to cap off our bottom left, and we'll start looming to the, oh my god, we're going to start by looming up. Here's where it might get a little bit confusing, but I'm trying to show you everything here. So if you look at this peg, we have our holding band, or our capping band, we have our extension piece that's added on, we have 2 bands that are coming from the peg above, and you have 2 that are going to be coming over to the right. We're starting with the ones that came from the peg above, so they are the second set from the bottom. You're going to push back all of the top bands, the extension and the cap, grab those 2 and bring them up and over, and we can finish looping up the right side, pushing everything back and taking only the bottom 2. Now we can go in and get the last 2 on the bottom and bring those up and over carefully to the right, and continue along to the right with our top bands going back horizontally, going back to the side. There are 2 each. And from here we just do what we've been doing all along, which is looping up the rest of our rows. We just do a straight loop upwards. From here, this is completely and exactly the same as what we've done for our last 3 sections. And our remaining sections are really straightforward. It's pretty well what we're doing here, but without moving any loom pieces around, without any craziness. So I think we'll finish this. I'm gonna give you a chance to make the second one, and then I can show you how to put your number 1 on the side, and from there we can make our last couple of pieces before starting to connect them all. I'm kind of excited. We're making good progress here. As I said, this took me about 4 days to make myself initially, so I'm glad that the videos, that our time here is moving smoothly. I think it was about 4 days. Okay, last row up, and then we're going to loom back from the left to the right. So find these 2 bands that are coming from the right, bring them up and over onto the second peg from the left, find your next 2, bring them over, and just keep going. Please take your time, make sure you're getting the right bands and that you're getting 2 each time so that you don't run into difficulties later. I'm just racing through because I've done this so many times already, making this project. As I said, and as you've probably seen, the looming always gets faster the more that you do, and the more that you use a specific method, you're gonna find things speed up. Okay, through the far right, bring your band through, one end over the other, and take this off of your loom. You are gonna need to pause and make 1 more of these. Sorry guys, it's gotta be done. Unless you're gonna have a single-sided Thomas, but that's gonna be awkward. Sorry, it's my phone. Better go take that. Be back with you for the next part. let's get away from the loom for just a little bit. We're gonna make our number ones on the sides. This is optional, you don't have to do it. And you can decide whether you want it to be really, really thick or a little bit thinner. I'm gonna use 4 bands all together and a couple to connect. So you're gonna pick the part that's gonna be at the top, and you're gonna put your hook in the middle section just below the top. Put a single yellow or 2 if you want it to be extra thick onto your hook and carefully slide it through to the back. Now we have one side on the hook, one on your finger. You're going to move over to the left side just a little bit, catch that yellow again and bring it to the back again. And you can set it so that this is a little bit lower if you want. To do that, we just put our hook in a little bit lower. This part takes a little bit of feeling around here. Okay, so you get the top of your one. And what I'm going to do, there are lots of different ways to do this, but I'm going to take a single and put it through both of those on the back side. Put it back on my hook and pull one over the other. And now this won't get pulled too very tight. Now you can put this on a holding hook or put it on your finger or just leave it loose. I'm going to put it on my finger for now, and I'm going to put my hook through a little bit lower, closer to the middle, but I'm trying to keep it below the top of my yellow here. And I'm going to take another yellow, put it on the end of my hook and bring it to the back. And now I can take this piece that was on my finger and slide it under my new piece. And this piece can be retrieved by sticking the hook through its first place, the first place we put it in, catching it and pulling it to the back. Now you can use double yellow bands here if you want to, and that will make it a little bit thicker and easier to see. We go through again in the middle, right under where we had our first piece. I'm gonna go to the back so I can see. And this time I'm gonna use 2 because I want mine to be a little bit thicker on the bottom. We'll see how this works out. And I'm gonna slide those to the back and through the band that I've got there. And we need to collect it a little bit lower. So put your hook through again. Find a spot that's in line with the others. Put your yellow on your hook again and pull it back through. And now you can get a C-clip and secure it at the back, and you can press these forward a little bit. You can move them around. You can always take pieces out and put them back so that they are where you want them to be. I'm gonna get a C-clip, and this is just gonna stay here. We won't do anything more with this. And you will make another one for your other side. You can see mine didn't turn out. I used the doubles on all of these, and it's a little bit sloppy, but you get the idea. And as I said, you can fiddle around with it and get it so that it's the way that you like. Let's put our yellows away. And we are going to make the front of the face next. And that's the piece that the head is going to sit on. So get to your double loom again, and we are starting at the right side. And I believe this goes all the way across the loom. I'm going to double check that for you. There's so many pieces here. I just want to make absolutely certain I'm giving you the right information. Yeah, okay. So we are going to take blues, start at the far right, come across the loom. As I said, this is similar to the other pieces that we've done. And this is the only one where we're going to have multiple colors on our component. So we start with blue across the top, double bands. We're going to come down 4 times with double blue on each of these rows, and then we're gonna add some different colors here. And you can always play around with the numbers if you feel like you want there to be less blue showing or more gray or whichever. I'll give you another option here in a minute once we've got these blues on too. And 4 sets on the far side. Now, when I originally made this, what I did for my frontal piece is I had my 4 rows of blue, and then I did 3 rows of gray, and then I stitched on the red. But what I'd like to do here is shorten the gray, add the white panel at the bottom, and I'm gonna place blues along the side here and here, so it's sort of like his little wheels or the wheel cover. Now if you want, you could just have 4 rows of blue and 4 rows of gray. If you feel like trying this new method with me, which will be in the thumbnail, then you're gonna switch to gray, and we're gonna have our blue come down 2 times on the outer 2 rows, and 2 times on the second rows in from either side. So your first columns, your first rows here will have 6 sets instead of 4. And this, like I said, is to create the appearance of the wheel wells, I guess that's what it would be. Now for our middle, we're gonna have a couple of grays, and it can match your face, your facial gray, or it can be a different gray, that's up to you. And then we're gonna put on a row of white, and we're gonna finish it off with white. And I think we should just need 1, and that will put us at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just the right number that we need. Take double white bands, or whatever color you've got in your bottom row, and we're going to come back right to left, double bands. The only other little alteration we have to make here is to match our holding band colors to the pieces we've changed, that we've put here. So white capping band, and we can use a white band across our 7th pegs, so the row above. We're going to use blue for the rest. I think that should be just fine. It's going to match our outer side, and that will help hide it. Although for what it's worth, as I said, we are stitching everything together, so a lot of it will be hidden anyway, the outer parts. And let's loom. Get under your cap band, find your top 2, bring them to the right, and we're going to go across the same way. You can actually move ahead of me here if you want. This is all, so it should all be getting to be routine by now. Okay, loop up all the way, all the rows. Push back the holding bands as you get to them. And you can loom across from the left side as you loop these up, or you can save it till you've looped all the rows. Either way is fine. Just felt like switching it up a little bit. Sometimes I feel like I just have to loop side to side and then up and up, or you know, do something just a slightly different way so I don't get too stuck or bored. I'm trying to be as consistent as I can for you, but I do sometimes like to loop sideways first and then up, or up and then sideways, or do a couple here, a couple there. Just make sure they stay in the order, whatever way that you are doing this. And be sure that you're getting all the bands as you go too. So that's rotten if you miss a couple and something comes loose. No good. Now this piece, when we are starting to put our pieces together, this has two things that will attach to it, and that's the white spout and the face. So this is going to be a busy little piece. Okay, secure it with our band and take it off the loom. This can go onto a C-clip and be put on the side, and we have our back piece and our front top piece with the spout to do. So we're nearing the end of the building part. That's not bad. All right, so just to show you, our face is going to go right here, and I'm not sure where I put that. Our little white piece is going to go right over here, but we'll come back to that later. C-clip and pop it on the side. And back to our loom. Straighten that all out. I'm going to need some more blues, I think. Okay, our back piece is 6 across and 9 down. So it's going to span across the loom. Start at the right, come across with double bands, and we'll have 9 bands down, or sorry, 9 sets of double bands down on each of those rows. Try and move this along a little faster for you if I can. And you can always pause or fast forward or jump back if you need to. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Repeat on the others. I'm looking forward to finishing this video. I want to get on to some new projects already and see what some of the other loomers have been up to. It's been keeping me busy for a while. And I'm also kind of excited to share this with you, and I hope this is something that you'll enjoy making and that you'll be happy with the results. I've been trying to find an already made Thomas the Train Engine Rainbow Loomed on the internet, and I haven't been able to find anything. And I really wanted to make one. I know so many young kids who are fans, and presented a good challenge for me. So yeah, I hope you're enjoying this. I'm looking forward to seeing how some of yours turn out. Okay, last row coming down. And everything else is going to be repeated from the last pieces. We're going to do our double bands across the bottom and our single holding bands, and exact same looping procedure. And doubles from the right. Band on the bottom left, don't forget that. 1, 2, and 3. And this piece isn't too terribly important in terms of its tension. You can have that with only 2 or 3 loops, or you could have it really tight with 5. I'm just doing 3. It's a nice average number, such that the band won't stick out, but you can still work with it. I'm just doing these holding bands across. And we can loop, go to the bottom left, get under your cat band and bring your top 2 to the right, go to the right again, and follow the bands back to where they came from. Loop up all of your rows straight to the top. You've got 9 sets each time, so loop 9 times, 2 bands each. And if it does make you feel any better, I'll reiterate here. Originally, this was an 11 row piece, so you are getting it a tiny bit easier. I'll also say again, if you're having any tension problems, that you're feeling your loom is getting loose or is getting too tight here, you can always remove some of the rows or some of the pieces that have already been knotted on, and that will make it a little bit easier to work with the rest of your loom. Just don't undo it too far. So you want to keep a little bit of tension on so your bands aren't popping off before you've looped them. Okay, when you are at the top or when you're finished, just remember to bring your bands back over from the side. I'm going to take a couple more of these off, and we'll loop our last 3 columns. next one straight to the top. And last time from the side. If you've left these to last, that's fine. Just make sure you get them all across now. Looks so pretty there, doesn't it, in the light? They look like little chromosome X's. Let's flip this around and get our band through. Create a slip knot. Oops, let's try that again. Create a slip knot by pulling one end over the other to secure, and we can take this off of our loom. And you don't have to make a second one for this piece. This is our back side, so we only need the one. And get this baby off. Okay, give that a straighten, put it on a C-clip.